I know it might be hard to believe, but yes, indeed, the Walt Disney Company has finally made a decision that we can get behind. It's a big play that Bob Iger has made with his former successors and the company that they run. It's a big deal for Disney, but is it fast and is it strong enough? The company is doing this at a time when we are learning through our sources that Disney Plus and ESPN Plus advertising revenues are in the dumpster. Can they turn it around? Let's find out right now. Hello and welcome back to another day, another video of excellence here on the WDW Pro channel. A joy to have each and every one of you, and a joy to have Jonas J. Campbell joining us yet again. Jonas is the investigative reporter for thatparkplace.com, and Jonas, thank you for returning to chat about all of these latest endeavors and latest changes at the Walt Disney Company.
Well, I'm really glad I could clear my schedule up to be here.
Absolutely, busy as always. But Jonas, we are talking today about some major news that has had a significant impact on the Disney stock. And folks, I know this is a shocker. It's not bad news for Disney. But before we get to that, we need to wade through the muck, the muck and the mud of Disney, because we do have some dismal Disney that we have to bring to you first in order to get to where we need to go. So let's start off with, folks, if you've not yet seen the Disney DEI Exposed videos, part 1 and part 2 from yesterday on this channel and on the channel of Valiant Renegade, make sure you do. A Disney whistleblower has come forward, given us quite a bit of information, and we have more information to bring to you today. We're also working on part 3, so be looking for that later in the week as this gets bigger and bigger and the scandal grows. However, the information we have that we need to bring to you today, and I think this will color why Bob Iger has reached out and brought back some of those former individuals of the company who were perceived as being his possible replacements. First of all, what we are being told, and folks, we're in rumor territory here. We cannot independently verify it, although this is coming from a source that provided us with the same documents that you saw yesterday, which corroborated those. Make of that what you will. One of Disney Plus's largest ad partners apparently has exited the platform in terms of using Disney Plus. That is big news. That is not out anywhere else. That's exclusively being said for the very first time here. We can't tell you which ad partner that is. We could tell you which category that ad partner is in, but that would give away who perhaps is our source, and so we won't do that. Disney Plus ad sales were red hot at first when they opened up this ad tier subscription plan, but that was until partners apparently discovered that the impact that their ads would have on Disney Plus had been badly overestimated by the company. And in other words, Disney sold these partners on the idea that they would have dramatically wonderful results from their advertising, and well, that did not materialize. As a result, we are told that Disney Plus is now being bundled with other ad packages by Disney advertising sales in order to try to hide how badly this Disney Plus thing is going. They don't want to run Cars for Kids and My Pillow ads, apparently. They want the top-end, top-tier kind of advertisers, not to disparage either of those, but they want the big ones, and so they are willing now to bundle the ads when a company comes and says, hey, we want to advertise on ABC, we want to advertise for this show or this show. Disney says, oh, you can, but we're also going to require that you be on Disney Plus. We've seen that before with their toys. That's what they're doing again. Jonas, your thought?
In the same way that a cable bundler wants that, they know you want to buy ESPN, but they'll also sell you ESPN 8 and the sewing channel and all these other things that you really don't want, but they know what you do want, which is Hulu, which has lots of eyeballs on it and lots of content that people like to binge watch for hours on end that has lots of opportunity for ad breaks.
And folks, we have a earth-shattering, this is crazy that we get to do this in 1 week. We have an earth-shattering story coming out later this week about Hulu. Just hang tight. You do not want to miss that video when it hits. Final thought on this, though, is that ESPN Plus, apparently, Jonas, we're told by the source, is actually performing worse than Disney Plus when it comes to advertising, the impact that the advertising has on consumers, the bang for the buck, the ROI that the partners are receiving through these services. And that may be why we are seeing Bob Iger reaching out to his previous potential successors to come in and help him fix ESPN Plus. But before we go there, Jonas, what do you think about, and I believe you were there with us. I know Valiant was with us during this one. You were in and out a little bit the other night, but when the whistleblower was going over this information with us, what do you make of this this new leak, I suppose, this new rumor about Disney Plus ad sales just being dismal?
Well, it makes sense. The idea that advertisers were excited to get on Disney Plus, it was new territory. I don't want to say it was a blue ocean, but it would be like that, to where you're the first one in the spot. You can be historically the first person on a major streaming service. But once they started getting a hold of the numbers and the return on their investment, they were not interested, which seems to be very financially and very numbers based. Withdrawing because you're throwing good money after nothing, it sounds like.
Well, we also now know too, Jonas, via this same source, and then I'll also corroborate it later. So we can corroborate this one, but we know that Dana Walden, she was very interested in eliminating large swaths of what she considered to be non-diverse programming. And so their push inside Disney was to get these advertisers to support multicultural, diverse, whatever you want, whatever categories these are. But these types of programs, and perhaps the way that they did that to reach that ad goal of $100 million in advertising for those types of programs was to eliminate all the other types of programs that existed. So get rid of everything else and, just make sure that you hit those DEI objectives for your institutional investors. So that may also have played into really tanking Disney Plus. Maybe they shouldn't have been emphasizing so much on the Onyx collection.
Right. The idea that we don't serve the market serves at our interest, and
at
that
our
we get to
institutional
dictate.
investors' interest.
Exactly.
Yep, at BlackRock's interest. So, all right, Jonas, let's get into this article now. And the reason that I am pulling this from Fox Business is I find this amazing. We are currently in a big news cycle where the president's son is in a whole lot of trouble, and his business partner has come out and made some claims. And we know that the president of the United States himself is also potentially connected to that. At the same time, on the Republican side, you have allegations and criminal proceedings against the former president, who is the political frontrunner, blah, 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 right? It's a day that ends with Y, and we are in lawfare, warfare, whatever you want to call it when it comes to our political system and perhaps our culture. I say all of that to get to this point. Fox News has plenty of red meat for their readership. And yet, this article about Bob Iger bringing back former executives as advisors is on their main page. It's up there. And I think that speaks to how much the general public now is interested in the downfall of Disney. I really believe that this is something that has caught the attention of just average, normal, everyday Americans and Westerners all across the world, that Disney is in trouble. Otherwise, how could you possibly explain that in the midst of all those stories, Fox is like, yeah, let's put on a thing that's in the weeds about Disney. And this is in the weeds. So.
Right. And to be fair, it is quite a compliment to the history of Disney that people care so much about a singular company. There is no entertainment company on the planet that compares to the Walt Disney Company and the history of the Walt Disney Company. Warner Brothers comes close, but they really don't have the history in that way unless you are a film buff. Disney
now,
is
Jonas,
culture.
Are you ready for something that seldomly has happened on this channel in the last 3 months?
Absolutely. Please, let's get to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, maybe I should do the announcer voice. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, actual positive news for Disney. What? Here we go.
Absolutely.
Disney's Iger lures back former executives as advisors. Bob Iger, back in charge from retirement, is under the gun to find a successor. This by Joe Tope. Hi, Joe Tope. Disney CEO Bob Iger is reaching into his past, reportedly bringing back 2 former executives to help guide the media giant, according to multiple sources. Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs have been rehired to advise Iger on how to deal with Disney's legacy television businesses, including the ESPN Sports Network, according to multiple news sources. Iger, in a recent interview with CNBC, confirmed he was mulling a potential sale of the assets. Pause there. Now, why would they be brought back in specifically to help with the ESPN Sports Network? And we'll talk about, folks, at the end of this video, exactly how they were brought back in. That's one of those in the weeds kind of topics. We'll discuss it. But specifically, what did we just say? ESPN Plus is below Disney Plus, and Disney Plus is a huge mess right now in terms of ad revenue. So the reason that ESPN Plus can't make money is because all the content is contractually linked to the cable channel. And so ESPN Plus is having a hard time getting original content that would drive eyeballs onto that streaming service. Thus, they're bringing in these guys who can actually work through these contracts and figure out what in the world do we do here to offload these cable assets, these network assets, and move fully into streaming for right or wrong, because that's what the company has dedicated itself to do. Jonas, what do you think about Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs and what they might be up to, what they might do at the company to make this happen?
Well, let's start with Tom Staggs because he's the easiest to quantify here. Tom Staggs is the former CFO of the Walt Disney Company under Bob Iger in his original tenure.
Pre-Christine McCarthy.
That's right. That's right. And he was by many predictions the next in line to be CEO, and as well as Kevin Mayer, of course, and we'll get to that. But Tom Staggs was one of the guys in charge of the current push at the parks to have. He was a former parks guy as well. To have all that cell phone usage to bring the parks into the next level, which, of course, that could be positive, as we see. Universal seems to be handling it well, that a little bit of cell phone usage is probably good to help you with your mobile ordering, to help you instead of carrying around one of those amazing maps they used to always have at the parks.
Right. But, in other words, they built out a fantastic infrastructure, and then the powers that were after he left took that infrastructure and said, hey, let's monetize this in every possible way and slow down and what will we say here? Make arduous every process there is for coming into our parks and trying to enjoy them.
Right. And as is the case with Bob Iger, since they've continuously renewed him over the course of 10 years. So it got to another 10-year where Stagg was supposed to be set up as the heir apparent of the company, and then Iger got another renewal, and then so Staggs left because obviously he doesn't need to wait around forever to be CEO of the Walt Disney Company if that is never going to happen. And as we see, Bob Iger, I wouldn't be surprised at this point if he gets renewed to 2028 because he's never leaving. His as Valiant Renegade likes to point out, his consulting contract kicks in after his CEO contract is over, and that would keep him there until I believe the end of 2030 or 2030. Yeah, 2031.
And Jonas, when he was a consultant under Chapek, people don't know this. When Chapek took over as the CEO, then Iger slipped into that consultation role. He kept his office, so he kept the CEO office, and Chapek had to take something else. I have a feeling that this is the same kind of idea, right? Where Iger is the CEO ad infinitum. You might as well just call him the Chancellor of the House of Mouse. He's never going anywhere. Another interesting thing about him bringing back Mayer and Staggs is that one of these men, Staggs, reportedly saved Iger's life at one point when Bob Iger, this is something, he choking on chicken. Now, we're not making fun of anybody out there who's ever been choking, and whether you choked on chorizo or you choked on steak, it's no fun. And so we're glad that Iger is okay, but he was choking on chicken, and Staggs came in and performed the Heimlich and helped him out, reportedly. So maybe Iger owed him one. In addition to advising Iger, Mayer and Staggs will work with ESPN president Jimmy Pitaro to examine strategic options for the sports channel. Again, folks, they are desperately trying to get this thing over to streaming. They need to cut the cords that they have with the cord. They need to cut away from those contracts because they're not making enough money on their streaming. Iger inked a 2-year extension with Disney in early July, ensuring he held the chief executive position at the California-based entertainment giant until the end of 2026. His original deal had him as CEO until the end of 2024. Prior to then, he ran the media company from 2005 to 2020. Iger returned to CEO in November. We all know this. We'll continue on. According to the report, Staggs and Mayer were received well on Wall Street. Jonas, you've got an update. How much did the stock rise since that announcement until the time of recording?
Well, let's be vague since we're not doing we're not offering financial advice here, but the stock was hovering at around $85 and getting dangerously close to the lowest points they've ever been. Now it's going closer to $90, so a pretty close to a $5 jump in the stock price, which affects the valuation of the entire company by a way of billions of dollars.
And also, I would say that it's not missed on me that we are about 1 week away from their next earnings call. So making this kind of a decision will shift the narrative dramatically in terms of what's going to be discussed in those phone calls. Everything was doom and gloom at Disney. We've been saying for so long, what is it going to take for this company to pivot? Most companies, in the face of half of what Disney's going through, would dramatically alter their tracking, and Disney seemed to be fortifying. With this move that Disney's making, folks, here's where we get into what we do here on this channel in a way that other channels don't. With this move, Disney is able to shift the narrative without necessarily shifting the strategy in terms of the stuff that's contentious and makes people dislike them. Bringing in these two men, this makes investors happy. And this will go into lots of questions, I'm sure. Perhaps even half the questions will be about this. We'll see. But I'm fascinated with just how well played this is, that Disney is attempting to change the trajectory of their next shareholder meeting versus what they were going to be experiencing otherwise. Jonas, any thoughts on that take?
Yeah, no, that is everything we were hoping for. And I predicted about a month ago that we would have about 3.5 weeks before we got a big announcement by the Walt Disney Company. This is about as close as it gets, leasing two CEO candidates from both of them. Are we in the part where we're going to talk about the details of their arrangement here?
Walk us through. We're essentially done with that article. I mean, we could talk about it, but people who listen to this channel on a regular basis, they know all this kind of stuff. It just goes into the background of who these two men are, et cetera. So, right. Jonas, tell us the very clever way that Iger lured back these execs, because whereas Fox Business may, position this as, well, they were brought back of their own desires and whims. It's a little more complicated than that.
Right. Kevin Mayer, which we didn't talk a lot about Kevin Mayer, but he was the head of the international side of Hulu, which, as we all know, that kind of got lopped off as well when they realized how much of that they were going to be driving value for Comcast more than Disney and driving up the price. And
Jonas, did I mention yet that we'll have a massive Hulu story that's massive?
Yes.
Anyway, continue on.
Anyways, the two of them left, and that left Bob Chapek as the most apparent person to become CEO. But Kevin Mayer went, and he left, and he went to TikTok, of all things, which is owned by ByteDance, which is owned by the Chinese government. So there's a pretty good case there that Mayer has ties to China and probably plays well with China. In 2021, both of these men formed a company called Candle Media, Tom Staggs and Kevin Mayer together, basically an investment portfolio for entertainment. Hello Sunshine, which is Reese Witherspoon's company. Moonbug, which owns a little show called Coco Melon, which continuously murders the Walt Disney Company in streaming, despite the fact that it's available for free.
Not Bluey, though, that. Jonas. Bluey is still competitive, but it's technically not owned by Disney. So
right. But Coco Melon still even outshines Bluey. So there's no accounting for taste there, I would say.
And apparently, Jonas, Coco Melon purchased Pink Fong, the creators of Baby Shark. So real battle going on in the preschool world right now.
Right. So Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs were approached separately for consulting contracts. So you have both CEOs, they're co-CEOs of Candle Media. Both of them are now working for the Walt Disney Company in some way. Now, I will also throw in there that I believe Kevin Mayer has a consulting contract with Warner Brothers Discovery on their linear TV business. So it is not a strange thing for Kevin Mayer to advise. What is most interesting is that we've often said that there is no one within the Walt Disney Company who would be a suitable CEO. But now we have them renting two people who have the exact credentials that they need in order to take over for Bob Iger, right about the time that Bob Iger says, no, don't get ahead of yourselves. I'm still here for another 3 years.
How lovely is this? The two best potential successors he ever had formed a company where they're in charge, and Iger, in his moment of desperation, has brought their company into the fold, thus reacquiring both of them simultaneously. Now he gets to put them to the duty of fixing Disney, right? Use the brain power of these two men who have performed at the highest levels inside the company. And Iger, if they do well, he will take all credit. What an ingenious little play that Iger has made today.
It's a fascinating thing, too, to watch because Disney is obviously institutionally held, even though it is a public company. There are 65% of the owners of Disney are institutional investors, primarily BlackRock and State Street, and that list that goes on and on. Candle Media, its primary owner is Blackstone, which is held by Ray Dalio. It is a private equity company and is not beholden to the same kind of regulations and stipulations as the Walt Disney Company.
Yes, and Blackstone would seem to have very different objectives than BlackRock. At the same time, we know that, as you said previous, Jonas, that at least one of these men has deep connections with China, which is in line with the current head of the board of directors for the Walt Disney Company as well. So we're not here to say, folks, that everything is sunshine and roses for the Walt Disney Company. In fact, as we just said in yesterday's video or videos, this company recently tripled down on their DEI positions, which were already what we consider to be radical in comparison to other corporations, which we consider to be way out there because things changed very quickly over the last few years, and perhaps there were some oversteps. But Disney took that to levels that they were unimaginable until we brought them forth in the video. But all of that said, if you're looking for a positive move from Disney, and we have not been able to say this in a very long time, I think the last time, Jonas, that we had positive coverage of the Walt Disney Company, honestly, was back when Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 came out. And when that came out, we even had to stipulate, but by the way, this was made by the person who's becoming potentially one of their biggest competitors in Hollywood. This is positive news, and we just need to come out and say it because we want to cover Disney fairly, and I think this is all a plus. What do you think?
I absolutely agree. And if this ends with Candle Media being purchased by the Walt Disney Company, if that ever happens, they also have a stack of former Disney executives that are running Candle Media that could be slotted into a lot of roles in the restructuring. If someone was looking to change the ideological bent of the Walt Disney Company, bringing in old blood and having all of those, Bob, let me remind you, restructuring costs are a fantastic way to jettison content that's not working on Disney Plus in order to get a tax write-off. Just think about the massive amount of money that you could get if you buy Candle Media and you put everything onto restructuring, write it all down, take an impairment, get your money back.
Legacy corporate knowledge, massive amounts of that was lost. We talked about this yesterday, about how through the DEI department, Tom Newton, under that department that was essentially empowered by Iger as he was preparing to make a political run, the company just annihilated conservatives and moderates in large numbers, and they already were heavily tilted in one direction politically and ideologically inside the company. The danger when you do that is that society and companies need both liberals and conservatives, right? Because you need liberals, people who are liberally minded, which, by the way, gets down into your personality traits even. That gives you the proclivity for which political side of the aisle you might be associated. But people who are liberally minded, they tend to look out for things that they can change, right? They look for flaws in systems and they want to be creative and change those things. People who are conservatively minded tend to be the kind of people who look for the things that are working well and they want to conserve them. If you eliminate either side of that, you create a real problem for your company. If you have too many conservatives and too few liberals, then you risk the opportunity that you won't change enough, right? You won't evolve your company anymore because you're too beholden to the traditions. And if you get rid of all the conservatives, well, then the liberal groups of your company, they will push for change, and you'll forget what made your company great in the first place. That's what we've seen out of Disney, is this radical push to change everything. And Jonas, you're exactly right. If they bring back all of these Disney execs through this company purchase, then they could bring back the people who remember what made the company great, and they could reinstitute, all while getting tax write-downs. Now, is that pie in the sky? Potentially. Jonas, how likely do you think it is as we wrap up our deep dive into what's going on at Disney today?
How likely is it that they would purchase Candle Media?
Yeah, and that they would actually go through with making the kinds of changes that would help steer this company back in the direction it was once going.
I can't put a figure on it, but I'm a lot more hopeful than I was 2 days ago. I've got to say, this is the exact kind of thing that Disney needs to signal that there might be people other than Bob Iger making decisions for the Walt Disney Company.
That is well said, Jonas. And it is nice that, it's like watching a game of poker, and Disney has not had a single good play this entire time at the table. And you're thinking they're down and out. And now they've pulled a card out of their pocket, maybe even cheating, who knows? But they pulled a card out of their pocket that you're like, I did not see that coming. I didn't even know you had that card. I didn't even know you were willing to play that card.
I'll add to it.
Doesn't mean they'll win. They got a shot. To it.
It's as if you're playing against your teenage son, and then all of a sudden your brother-in-law sits down behind him and starts pointing at the cards and whispering in his ear.
Oh, that is a great analogy, Jonas. We'll stop there because that's as good as it gets. Folks, that's where Disney is. If you like the kind of content we produce here, folks, if you like the kind of insight we attempt to bring so that you understand entertainment, so that we keep you ahead of the culture curve, and so that you know what's actually going on behind the scenes at Disney in high resolution, consider clicking that like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. The conversation between myself and Jonas has come to a close, but the commentary begins. Drop a comment down below. We covet your comments. We care about what you think. We read them, and we often respond. And folks, if you're not yet a member of the channel, consider clicking that join button. For the cost of a soda per month, you can get all kinds of exclusive content. We just had a member spotlight interview video and my thoughts on the passing of Paul Reubens, aka Pee Wee Herman, a sad, sad thing, gone far, far too young. Arrivederci, Pee Wee. All right, folks, that's a wrap for today. We hope you're making this world better wherever you are, in whatever small way you can do or big way. Get out there and do it. It's meaningful and you're alive. And that means you're the type of person who should be out there living. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
I just found out to get WDW Pro's information, where he gets his sources. I can't believe he uses Wilton.
What?
We got a job to do. It's easy to hack into WDW Pro's computer.
You're kidding me. That's awesome. You know any other stuff?
Yeah, just Jonas Campbell told me.
Sweet.
Said Pro underpaid him or something.
A few minutes later.
There. Oh, awesome. Whatever. All I gotta do is hack into this thing. It's gonna be so easy.
Yeah, this isn't
All
a
right,
hack.
grab this picture over here.
Leave it to me.
Oh, no. Oh, Wilson.
Job done. What?
No, all we had to do was use the picture because he uses Face Unlock. Now we gotta go to thatparplace.com and sub to him and his team on YouTube.
Oh, well, I already did that because I'm smart.